It's wonderful to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you too. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Great. So I understand that you have a 9-year-old daughter named
Yes.
Ammaleigh,
Yes.
yes, who was born with cerebral palsy.
She does have CP. She also does have hearing loss, wears hearing aids, and has a visual impairment.
Okay. Can you describe her growing up?
Yes. So, because of her brain injury at birth, which in turn caused all of her diagnoses, including the CP and epilepsy, everything was very delayed. So, she would have what you would call a global developmental delay in all areas of development. So that definitely affected her gross motor for sure. She didn't roll over until she was about 3.5.
We met through a friend and colleague, Bridgette Thomas, whose son has cerebral palsy as well. What was your motivating reason for bringing her in?
I didn't have expectations. I just knew that maybe this would be another additional therapy that would be helpful for her. So I'm a true believer in the neuroplasticity, and that, that the brain can always learn. Even as bad as her brain was damaged, she can always make new pathways or new connections. And so Feldenkrais kind of spoke to me on that level, that maybe this was going to teach her brain a new way to be aware of her body so that she could move it better. My expectations were kind of open to see what happens.
I remember her first session. She enjoyed laying on her back and drawing up her nails and kissing her nails. And that seemed to be her comfort area.
She'd go into that fetal position on her back, but through you guiding her movement, open, I guess what I'm saying, like open, coming to like a clamshell, she got more comfortable to laying her head back, putting her feet down the ground. And then, and it was interesting because as soon as she wasn't comfortable, she'd pop back up in that position. And you were very respectful of that. And you kind of would take 2 steps back and then lead her into that open clamshell position again. And then from there, it would guide her into rolling over. And so the next big thing was that even though she rolled over at 3.5, I'm going to back up a little bit. She did have a G-tube surgery, which was kind of the catalyst of having her stop rolling over at that age. So when I said she did roll over, she did, but then she stopped. And so from that age 4 to age 8, there was no rolling over. So again, she regained that skill and started to roll over both directions, from back to belly, left and right, and then once on her belly to roll then from belly to back on the left and right side. So those were the first big, we call them inch stones.
And has she retained those skills?
So yes, she has absolutely retained that skill. Floor time is part of her daily routine now. And not only that, she has started to bring her knees up underneath her, which was one of the last skills that we were kind of working on with you. But if you give her something to press on, then she can advance forward on her belly. So she's moving her arms in kind of an army crawl position, yes, and she's lifting those knees up under her body. So that has been pretty neat to see, because it wasn't like that was a new thing that her physical therapists were working with her on. It kind of just happened. And so now you can say to her, move your arms forward. Okay, fix your arms. Now bring up your right knee, bring up your left knee. And she's trying to move forward. She doesn't quite get her belly off the ground. So it's She's kind of stationary crawling.
You said she used sign language to communicate with you.
But what ended up happening shortly after we started Feldenkrais sessions is that she said mommy for the first time ever at age 8. She had vocalizations before then. She would say things like ew and go and yay. Since then, she has just continued to build her spoken vocabulary. Sometimes she says strings of sounds, and I don't know what they are, but she's very excited when she does. And I mean, it's exciting. Like, for instance, I'm expecting a baby, and if you ask her what's in my belly, she will say cupcake. So everyone has nicknamed this new baby Cupcake.
So during the sessions together, were there any other changes in routines that may have, is there a cause and effect conclusion possible?
She's had various, whether it be the clinical approach, so an outpatient type occupational therapy, feeding therapy, physical therapy. Then she's had all of the early intervention that occurred in the home. During that particular period of time, though, she was just getting her in-school therapies provided by the school district, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and then she has a hearing itinerant and a vision itinerant. So during that whole time, though, nothing else was added or changed. Nothing really changed in our home routine besides adding the Feldenkrais.
I'm just pleased to hear that some of those changes have been long-term.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really awesome to watch. And she's so much more like in control of her body, I think. Body awareness has improved dramatically. And it sounds silly, but you know, to even give her a verbal command of pat your head, pat your belly, kick your right foot, kick your left foot. That means that those connections are just there and that she can do it. And she laughs and thinks it's hysterical. That's great.
Well, thank you so much for being here again, Bridgette. Thank you. It was nice to connect with you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.